Hi folks, Robert J.E. Simpson here once again, and it is still Mental Health Awareness Week as I record this. It's Friday 22nd of May 2020, and every day this week as part of my vlog I'm trying to address just certain themes around mental health and sort of to try and help stimulate the conversation around the topic. Yesterday's vlog, if you watched it, was a little bit of an emotional response to the Tony Slattery documentary, What's the Matter with Tony Slattery, that was on BBC as part of the Horizon Strand, in which I have a very, very small part to play. I'm a lot calmer today, but one of the things that I said at the end of the last video was about the importance of a support network, and it's something I want to touch on. I had a rather restless evening because different reasons, but part of the problem was that watching the film had set off memories and associations and thought processes in my own head, and then that obviously preyed on my subconscious during the evening. But today, with a bit of time, having gone and found my little safe space, I'm certainly much more with it and much more able to sort of engage with the world. And this is one of the things, I guess, that I think that can often be a problem with mental health issues and illnesses, is the need for proper support around you. And it is a complex issue. Mental health illness isn't one thing. It's a very, very broad church. There are many different forms of it, and a conversation I've been having with my friend David Kernick, who you'll find on Twitter as David L. Radigan, over the last few days has included the issue about the terminology that we use for it, and also his own experiences. I mean, he's talked quite openly on his Twitter feed today about his mum, who was had basically a psychotic breakdown, was sectioned for a while, and the difficulties of sort of going through that. And I've said to David we might try and do a video chat on my live stream at some point over the next few days, because I want to tease that conversation out a bit, and I think having that with somebody who has those direct experiences of it is really, really beneficial. Me talking about my experiences is one thing, but I am as guilty as other people of being ignorant about aspects of it. And terminology is a massive, massive problem because not everyone views it in the same way. And I had a long, lengthy conversation last year about the use of the word madness in relation to mental health. And I am somebody who, with my own issues, would be an advocate actually for using terminology like madness and crazy, but in a reappropriated way. About just, it's that perception I think that we've had over the years that often anyone who expresses any sign of mental ill health is mad or crazy. And as somebody who has had people try and use my own breakdowns as a way of disenfranchising me, of way of questioning my credibility, and of telling other people that I basically was mad as a result of this, rather than be owned by that, rather than have someone use that against me, I've chosen to embrace that, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay being perceived as occasionally slightly crazy or mad, or I actually get offended by unstable more than anything else, because the rest of the stuff I can happily rebut. But the instability is a word that is more loaded for me, particularly in terms of my personal and my professional life. And certainly if clients think that I'm unstable, as in there's a chance that if they give me a gig, I'm not going to deliver at all, or the product could be really shoddy, that is detrimental to my ability to work. Whereas I think the vast majority of people that have ever worked with me know that the stuff gets done, it gets delivered. I have a separate issue about deadlines, which I know how to sort of deal with. I've worked on that one. But that's not about instability. There are a few occasions where my own crises have interfered with my work. Need needed understanding, but I went back, and it wasn't permanent. And that's something I'll maybe talk about on a later date. And certainly I've talked about it before, over on my blog, which you can get at Avalard, avalard.wordpress.com. That's where I used to post all my stuff. Still do occasionally. But yeah, I think it's really, really important, not just a discussion about terminology, which is something I want to do, but also I think it's really important to have a support network around you. So, for me, whenever I have gone through my own experiences, part of my way of dealing with it, I've tried medications, I've tried talking, but it's also about making sure that there are people and places around me that will give me some kind of buffer zone, will give me some sort of comfort and a little bit of security when maybe everything in here isn't quite working the way that it should do. And I tend to sort of start hitting them up. I've learnt over years of having to deal with this, to start making the approaches before it gets out of hand. So I'll tend to start talking as soon as I notice that there's a problem brewing, and if it gets too bad, hopefully it's there. And some of my friends and stuff are well versed now. They know the signs, and so they could step in, I guess, as they need to. But then I'm lucky in that I have people around me to support me, and not everyone does. And not everyone is in a situation where they're diagnosed. Not everyone has people around them who are genuinely interested in looking after their needs. And again, because mental health is again such a broad church. I mean, it's sort of fine maybe if you've got a bit of depression. I'm saying this slightly dismissively. It's not how I feel necessarily, but if you've got a bit of depression, or you're slightly in this nuanced scale, if you're perceived to be slightly mentally ill, that's much easier to deal with than somebody who is psychotic or is manic. Those are much harder things to deal with, and one of the things that the Slattery documentary sort of highlighted was that whenever you have those conditions, there's often the forms of medication that one takes as well. The way that one deals with it can also exacerbate problems or mask problems, and then become a separate problem as well. And you've got to process and deal not only with the actual illness, but also the additional things that are then masking and complicating the illness that one has. So some of us turn, there again, in terms of what I sort of said the other day about, there's talking therapies, there's medications, but beyond that as well, there's also self-medicating. If you're doing that, if you're trying to deal with it by going out and taking heaps of drugs, or you're going out and dealing with your stuff by taking lots and lots of alcohol, if, like me, you're a depressive eater, I see my issues with food very much as part of my mental, as related to my mental illnesses, not sure, but I see that as part of that problem, and that creates other health complications for me if I don't keep it in check. Hence I've joked about this on the vlog already, my Orson Welles appearance at the moment. I mean, I'm close to getting close to Wellesian sort of scale, and I'm not keen on that, because that will have implications. So if you're doing that sort of stuff, if you are dealing with them by maybe, I don't know, banging all around you, whatever it is that you choose to do as your outlet, it does make things more complicated. And if you're living with someone who's in that situation, that becomes harder to deal with. If you've got a friend who's like that, it becomes harder to deal with, and it can just mask everything. So it's not a simple process, and whilst I sort of started this week off hoping to be really, really positive, and try and fire through something really affirmative every day, as the week's gone on and I've had more conversations and I've seen more stuff and I've reread more stuff and I've thought more about my own experiences, it is far more complex. And while I don't want to be somebody who looks at mental health in only a negative way, I think those negativities, those complications, those issues need to be acknowledged. Even if I can't address them, even if I can't resolve them, I at least need to acknowledge them. So yeah, that's my sort of rambly mental health themed thoughts for today. But if you can, I think get people around you, get stuff around you that keeps you grounded a little bit more, that neutralizes sort of the complications. And if you haven't got those people around you or those things around you, I think it's something that's worth looking into. If you're somebody who has mental health illnesses, conditions, whatever terminology you wish to use for it, or if you're mad, or if you're crazy, or you're psychotic, or you're just aware, I think try and build in a safety net. I mean, many people I think don't have them. They've never sought one out. But if you build a safety net around yourself, it will make things easier. It doesn't resolve things. It doesn't solve the stuff. But what it does is it means that whenever anything does happen, if you have an episode, or things get really difficult, or it's more pronounced for a period, that there is a way of mitigating things slightly and lessening the impact that has on you and the damage that it can sort of induce. Tomorrow's vlog, I will do another one tomorrow. I'm going to maybe try and say something slightly more positive about the whole mental health situation. Aside from the fact I think it's really good that we're talking. So for those of you who've sat and listened, thank you very much. For those of you who've commented during the week, either publicly or privately, again, thank you very much. It's good to know that people are engaging and they are talking. And I'm going to try and continue some of the conversations, both in sort of my work life and also just with the streaming conversations that I've been having. So keep an eye on my social media channels. There might be a few more bits and pieces. And if you're somebody who wants to engage, do fire me over a message. I'm always happy to sit and listen and talk. And if you've got things you want to say or contribute to, fire them over to me. And I'll engage them and incorporate them as best I can, unless they're bizarre, in which case I might not. Editor's choice. Anyway, until tomorrow.